All I ever wanted, all I ever needed is here in my arms. Words are very unnecessary. They can only do harm. What's up, guys? All you ever wanted and all you ever needed is here. And in the future, you'll be able to buy everything you want. Hopefully after you watch this video with Satoshis. What's up, guys? It's Saturday, April 5th, 6th, 2024. That is the Bitcoin block height. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the price of Bitcoin today. And that, my friends, is how many Satoshis you can get for $1. My goodness, guys, another Saturday. This is Satoshi Saturday, episode number 9. And if you haven't watched my previous videos, we try to build on top of each other every single week. And these weeks are flying by, ladies and gentlemen. And if you haven't watched them, please do so and start from the top at the pilot and work your way down. And hopefully we can learn together. As most of you guys know, I am a advocate for hard money, right? I started off with precious metals and then I worked my way to Bitcoin. And now I'm making Satoshi Saturday videos breaking down Satoshis, the divisible 100 million units of a full Bitcoin. I'm a hard money advocate, man. And one of the hardest monies I love is silver, vintage collectible silver. So let me say this before I get started, right? Because I've been kind of, tough on silver and precious metals lately, especially silver, because, I did my video yesterday about how it really doesn't matter how the price is going up until it gets to a certain amount, $100. Listen, guys, I absolutely love silver, a certain kind of silver, the one I just mentioned before. I'm a believer in it. I really do. I just don't think I need it for a savings account, right? I don't think it's going to be a money in the future or my generation's future, because I'm thinking in generations, 7 to 10 generations past me, man, because we don't live forever. We know that. And so with that being said, let me say this. I will never sell my Satoshis. And if you watch my other videos, I think it was from last week, my 10 reasons why I will not sell my Satoshis, I'm still like that. I will not sell them. But what I am going to do is I'm going to borrow against my Satoshis, get the fiat currency that I need to buy, in particular this item, vintage collectible rare silver, and then I'm going to go to the coin shop and buy it. I am not going to trade in any Satoshis, not one Satoshi, for silver. And the reason I'm not is because of things that I said before, but also this is my personal collection, right? This is like a collectible for me. I'm not using the silver as a hedge on inflation. I'm not using it as a future money or anything like that. I just love silver. I like the utility of it, and I like a certain kind. And when I first got into precious metals, I was stacking gold and silver just like everybody else. But the more I learned, the more I realized that I floated towards the hard money. And the hard money is the stuff that they're not making anymore. The stuff I said before. So now that I got that out the way, let's get on into it. I first got into stacking Bitcoin in February 2021. And I was studying and learning about it, but not as much as I do now. I was still heavy into precious metals. I had just been into precious metals a little less than a year, 7 months. And I started buying and I was learning here and there, but the more and more I bought, the more and more I realized it was a very, very hard money. I'm talking about Bitcoin and Satoshis. And I remember particularly during the Bitcoin bear market when Bitcoin dropped down to 15 something thousand. This is in 2022 and 2023 after the FTX stuff, and then Luna crashed and a bunch of stuff and the FUD and the prices were between like 16,000, 26,000, 18, 19, got up to 30. And during that bear market, I remember looking at silver and Bitcoin because I would get up and go to the coin shop almost on a daily basis at that time. I noticed it was very easy for me to I was buying Bitcoin on Cash App at the time. I would just roll over, buy some Satoshis, and then keep it moving. And I remember thinking the day I would buy Satoshis, and I remember thinking one day I would buy an ounce of silver and I would buy Satoshis. I was buying 100,000 Satoshis every single day as a base layer, and I'll get more to that in more Satoshi Saturday videos. It was about the same cost as 1 ounce of silver. 100,000 Satoshis, which was, it depends on when it was, $16, $18, $26. sometimes $30, but it was right around the same as an ounce of silver when it was in the 20s. And I noticed that it was a ratio, and I started developing my own ratio of about 1,000 to 1. So for every one Bitcoin, full Bitcoin, it took 1,000 ounces of silver, and I based my buying on that ratio that I had in my head. And the more and more I went on, I was like, wow, you know, I think in the future, this helped the agonizing process of me selling all my precious metal, because I sold it all, guys. And I have a few little pieces that I like and stuff, but I sold it all for the superior asset and the hardest asset, and that's Bitcoin and Satoshis. And that was tough because I was living in that bubble of having so much of my net worth in precious metals and loving it and the physicality of it, and just, man, I love me some constitutional. I am a sucker for constitutional silver, and I miss it, man. Even me talking about it, I miss it. But I had to look at it objectively. So what I started doing is I started selling off silver slowly but surely. I was selling off the least hardest silver. I was selling off generic rounds and, you know, the buffaloes and stuff like that. Then I was selling different little pieces here and there. But I noticed I kept holding on my favorite silver, which was the hardest one, the Engelhard bars, the Johnson Mattheys, the Silver Towns, the Constitutional Silver, stuff like that. And, you know, the last ones to go before that stuff was my fractionals, because I just loved it. I thought I was going to use it for bartering, and it was a nice piece because I used to buy fractionals. And I noticed that, again, I'm going to say this 1,000 times, that I kept floating towards the hardest money. And so as I kept dwindling down that 1,000 to 1 ratio, and I was selling off, I noticed that I was really learning about Bitcoin as the months went by, and I was just like, wow. And then I really got into Satoshis and everything else, and I started comparing Satoshis to ounces, right? Like, what is more harder? What's more valuable to me? So when I broke it down in that 1,000 to 1 ratio, I noticed I came up with a formula that it was about 100,000 Satoshis for 1 ounce of silver, like I said before. And I started measuring everything by that, and I was like, wow, do I think, going by my ratio, do I think this ratio is going to spread? And I said yes. So as I got down to my last portion of silver, my babies, man, my stuff that all I ever wanted and all I ever needed, that silver right there, that vintage silver, I had to really bite the bullet and go, okay, what am I going to do? And I came up with a plan. And my plan was, I'm going to come back for you guys. And I was talking to them. I was talking to my Constitution, my Morgan dollars, my Peace, my Mercuries, my George Washingtons, Walking Liberties, 50-cent pieces, all of them, all my stuff, man. And I said, I'm going to come back to you. And I developed another ratio. And that ratio is 100,000 to 1. Now, what does that mean? That means 100x. So before, when I was at $26,000 for a Bitcoin and silver was $26, I said, well, that's 1,000 to 1. So now I'm going to 100x that 1,000 to 1 and take it from 1,000 to 100,000. So in the future, I had to think about that. And I was thinking, why are you coming up with that? And the reason why I believe that less and less people are going to be into precious metals, because when Bitcoin starts sucking out the liquidity of gold, which I think is going to happen, I think it's naturally going to cause silver to go down for the first few years, once people realize that gold as a monetary metal or a monetary instrument is just not as good as Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is everything that gold is without the physical aspects, but 1,000 times better than gold. It just is, objectively speaking. And we know how gold and silver run together. Silver is the little brother of gold. So I don't know what the price of silver is going to be in the future, but I know that Bitcoin is a lot better than both. So I came up with that ratio, 100,000 ounces to every 1 Bitcoin. Now that sounds crazy. I know it does. But it's going to get even crazier when I say these numbers. So I told you that we're in the Bitcoin gold rush. Started January 2024. It's going to end in November 2034. That's when all of the Bitcoin is going to go down to 99% mined, and there's going to be 1% left to mine in the next 106 or 5 years or something, whatever it is. 2140. So yeah, 106 years. Again, I'm never going to sell my sat. So what I'm going to do, and I don't think the ratio I'm getting ready to say, or the number I'm getting ready to say, is going to happen in the next 10 years. It could, or the next 11 years. It could, but I don't plan on that. But if it does, then I'm still gonna do it. I don't care what the time frame is. All I care about the ratio. So let's just say, and I'm not making any predictions here, but let's just say silver hits $50 an ounce, right? And I said, okay, and Bitcoin's just flaming. It's just moving. It's getting pretty high. Well, let's just say it hits that ratio of 100,000 ounces to every one Bitcoin. Well, with that ratio, it would be silver at $50 and Bitcoin at 5 million.
What you talking about, Willis?
Yeah, I know that's hard to believe. And yes, I said it, okay? Do I think it's gonna happen? Absolutely. I'm 100% positive it's gonna happen. Now, is it gonna happen at $50? No. Is it gonna happen at $100? I don't know. I'm just using that as a low number because it could be $100 versus $10 million of Bitcoin.
What you talking about, Willis?
And yeah, I said it. And yeah, I'm looking at you. But let's just use 50 bucks, right? I know you guys are throwing stuff at the camera right now. So once it hits that ratio, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to a lending institution and I'm going to lend them my Bitcoin, right? Because here's what I wanna do. Now I'm saying this now, it might change in the future, but I want 10,000 ounces. That was my goal when I was stacking silver. I didn't quite reach 10,000, but that's my goal. I want to get 10,000. And that's part of the way I talked myself into selling my silver for cuck bucks and turning it into Satoshis and Bitcoin. Because all this stuff in between, the cuck bucks, the dollar amounts I'm saying, they are cuck bucks, okay? But I have to use the cuck bucks because I'm never trading my Satoshis for nothing. Again, I'm not going to mess my lineage up for my own personal gains. I'm just not, because when I die, somebody's going to get that silver, of course, but they're not going to appreciate it like me. It'll probably just stay in my vault, and they might mess with like, oh, this is my great-grandfather's stuff, and look at it as antiques. But they're not going to be using it for a savings or a money or a hedge on inflation or nothing like that in the future. 100 years from now, it's just going to be a completely different world. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a lending institution. With that ratio, I am going to borrow against 10% of my Bitcoin. 10 million Satoshis. And I'm gonna borrow against that. Now, I don't know what the loan to value ratio is gonna be by then. Let's just say it's 2 to 1. So let's just say whatever I wanna borrow against, I have to give them double. So at that price, it'll be $500,000. And I know, guys, that sounds like a lot of money, a lot of cuck bucks, but $500,000 in 10 or 12 years or whatever it's gonna be in, it's not gonna be that much, but it could be 5 years, who knows? But the purchasing power is not going to be anywhere near what it is now. Because again, a median house costs around $500,000 right now. The same house they used to cost, $100,000 10, 15 years ago. So let's just say that it's 10% of a Bitcoin, 10 million Satoshis at that $5 million price. Because remember, the silver is $50 an ounce, and it's 100,000 to 1 ratio to every 1 Bitcoin, 100,000 ounces of silver. At a double loan to value ratio, I'd have to give them 20 million Satoshis, or AKA 20% of a Bitcoin. Because remember, there's 100 million Satoshis in every Bitcoin. So I would borrow that. I would take the $500,000, the cuck bucks. I would grab that. I'd go down to the coin shops, different ones, and I would buy 10,000 ounces of my favorite silver, constitutional, vintage, all that stuff. I'd put it in a vault and I'd lock it away. And I'd start paying down on them as a monthly payment on that, or whatever it is, at whatever interest rate it's going to be. It's not going to be that much, I don't believe, because by then I think Satoshi's is going to be such a pristine asset that these banks will give you anything for it. I really think that. So in summary, guys, in this example, I'm using $50 ounce silver, and then Bitcoin would have to hit 5 million a coin. Again, I know you guys think that's crazy, but again, study Bitcoin and you'll understand what I'm saying. But it has to be 100,000 to 1 ratio for me to borrow against it and do that, because then I'll know I make about 100x on my initial investment, minus the the interest rates and stuff like that. And for context, real quick, I'm going to buy each ounce of silver for 1,000 Satoshis. And today's cuck bucks, that is 69 cents. Let me say that again. Today, that's 69 cents for your future in my ratio for 1 ounce of silver. Can you imagine that? I can. So there you have it, guys. That's my plan to buy my silver. It doesn't have to just be silver. It can be anything you want. Like I said in the beginning of this video. You can buy anything in the future using or borrowing against your Satoshi. If you want to sell your Satoshis, I'm not telling you not to. I'm just saying, me personally, I'm not going to do that because of the reasons I stated in the other video. But if you just want to swap them out and do what you got to do, hey, but just remember, do it in 4-year cycles. Everything you buy, reevaluate and look at it from what you pay today for what you're going to pay in the future in 4 years. And I'm pretty much guaranteeing that every 4 years, it's happened so far. And now with the ETFs and, you know, Bitcoin becoming basically public now and mainstream, I got a funny feeling it's going to go up even more in the next 4 years than it did in the previous 4 years in the future, because it's getting more and more scarce and more rich people are buying it every single day. So precious metal stackers, what do you think? Do you want to get some more precious metals in 4 years or 8 years by sacrificing a little bit? I'm not telling you to sell your silver, okay, or your gold. I'm not saying that. And I'm not giving you financial advice. Guys, I pretty much doubled my energy. I'm not talking about in cuck bucks, even though it isn't measured in cuck bucks. I almost tripled my purchasing power trading in my silver for Satoshis over the couple of years I did in 2022 and 2023 during the bear market when I was getting them pretty cheap. And it's not too late. It's very cheap compared to 5 million a coin. It's pennies on the dollar right now at 69,000. So again, precious metal stackers, what do you think? Are you going to buy some Satoshis, hold it in cold storage for 4 years and reevaluate and see what happens? Are you going to turn in some of your gold and silver today for 4 years and see what happens and see if you can get some more later? I don't know. But again, 4 years, remember, 210,000 blocks is a cycle. It's going to be volatile. It's going to go up and down in that process, but just look at it and have a long time horizon and a low time preference, and just look out every 4 years. And I'm telling you guys, I'm pretty much guaranteeing that the price of Satoshis are going to go up. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Am I crazy? Do you think my ratio is insane? Do you have a ratio? Do you have a plan? Tell me what you're going to do, if it's precious metals, if it's something else, some kind of collectible, anything that you want in the future. Let me know, please, guys, in the comment section below. Do me a favor, guys, if you like these videos, hit the like button, only if you like it. If you guys like my channel and my videos, go ahead and share them. Guys, I know I sound like a broken record when I say the same things over and over again, but this is a once in a species. Not every 20 years, not in a generation, not in 100 years. Once in a species opportunity, and you just happen to be born in between 2009 and 2024. And again, if you study Bitcoin, you will understand that you must take advantage of this for your lineage, your great grandkids, man, that are unborn into this tyrannical world that we're living in today, that they're trying to control us with the central bank digital currencies and the massive debt that our kids and grandkids are going to be stuck with. The dollar may not die in our lifetime. It may not. I know the precious metal guys think that, and sometimes they want it, but I do believe it will die in our children's lives, and definitely in our grandchildren's lives. And what are you going to do to help them today? You going to stack a bunch of metals? I don't know. But here's what I do know. Your lineage will never get as many Satoshis as you can get today. They won't. And they're going to look back at you in the next 100 years or 50 years and say, what'd you do, Grandma and Grandpa, during the Bitcoin bull run and when the ETFs got passed and everything else? What did you do? Did you keep buying precious metals? Did you ignore Bitcoin? Did you ignore Jerry on Satoshi Saturday when he was telling you to get those sats? Again, guys, I've said this once and I say it 1,000 times. Stack Satoshis today so you don't have to work for them same Satoshis tomorrow. I love each and every one of you, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace and love, guys.